Greetings, one and all. I just want to do a little show, but I wanted to do it about Gurdjieff. But this was also inspired because there were people saying, again, you're putting a lot of Steiner up, and one guy kind of poo-pooed it all. And it's up to the individual who they follow, obviously. But if you're following the Gurdjieff work, you do the Gurdjieff work. I know I do kind of mix and match things, but I've been recently reading a book on Maurice Nicole by Gary Lachman. And I love Maurice Nicole, and I know many of you have been listening to the audio I've put up of him all. But I was quite surprised to read of what different things Maurice Nicole was into before he came to the Gurdjieff work. I already knew about Jung, and that he knew Jung, and obviously he had his own practice. But I didn't know that he was interested in various other pagan gods and goddesses, and that he would do invocations to goddesses such as Hecate and such like. But he was trying, well, I think what Gary Lachman was saying in the book at one point was he was just trying to appease all gods. But that's me paraphrasing there. But I was a bit like that when I was younger. I was just trying to, let's just say hello to them all and get to know them all. And I don't see any problem with that, really, as long as they're not taking you down a dark path and making you do things that don't feel right in you. Again, whatever path you're following, as long as you're feeling that this is good in a positive way, not in an egotistic way, but feels good in that you're going somewhere, progressing, feel like you're going up and not down, then that's all very helpful. But I'd recently started rereading Venture with Ideas by Kenneth Walker. I had it on Kindle, and someone kindly gave me a copy as a paperback. And so it made, because I bought it on Kindle probably a long time ago. And they gave me a copy and I started reading it. I'm like, I've read this before. I know I have. And it was really doing my head in. And then one day on a bus, I saw someone reading a Kindle, and I'm like, my version's on my Kindle, and I haven't used my Kindle for a long time. I had to plug it in and charge it up, and there it was, along with various other Gurdjieff books that I forgot that I had, or Gurdjieff related books. But anyway, reading Ventures with Ideas again was brilliant. Every time you read these books, it's a few years later, it's different. You see something different in it, or you relate to something in a new way because you've been through that yourself. And Kenneth Walker and Maurice Nicole were friends, that's how they got each other into the work. But what I liked was something that was towards the end of the book, and I'm just going to read this little paragraph. So Gurdjieff's died, and Kenneth Walker's thinking over everything that he's learned from it all. And I think he'd been being questioned by people as to why does he follow Gurdjieff? And so as I've been questioned about various things, and I know some people think, oh, certain people are charlatans. Now, maybe some people are charlatans. To me, charlatans are normally ones who are getting money out of people and going and living a fantastic, fabulous life somewhere, abusing their followers. I don't see that in Gurdjieff or Steiner, though some people may argue that about me with Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff was known to get money out of people, but he used it to help feed other people. And his relationships with women that were in the work were always, from what I've been told, consensual. And I know someone whose mother knew Gurdjieff, and he explained to me that Gurdjieff knew when someone didn't want a sexual relationship with him, and it would be just I was going to say a one-night standing. If he knew someone, some people like sex, so they come together and just have a crazy night or a weekend and then go off back on their ways, and friendships are just as it was before. But a charlatan, I think, is someone who abuses his power. And I don't think Gurdjieff ever did, and I don't think Steiner ever did. But these are my own thoughts from that. But going back to Kenneth Walker, at the end of his book, he says about someone's questioning him about the Gurdjieff system, and I've had people question me about various systems or what I've followed or why. or why, be careful of charlatans, be careful of false paths. So that's why I was always trying to make sure that whatever I'm reading or looking at or a new way of thinking, that it makes me feel good in my connection to the divine. And this is what Kenneth Walker writes. Oh, now I've just lost the page, but here we go. Because someone was questioning him where Gurdjieff had got the system, and Kenneth Walker writes, "It is unlikely that we shall ever know where Gurdjieff obtained his system of knowledge. Interesting though it be to discuss its source, it is quite possible that little will be gained by it." Which is true, isn't it? I have had one guy who I used to do the one-to-one discussions of Gurdjieff with long time ago, give up on Gurdjieff because he had to know where it all came from. He had to know everything about where the source of the Gurdjieff work came from, rather than seeing how that system works in him, which brings me round to what Kenneth Walker then goes on to say. What does it matter whether we know or not the origin of Gurdjieff's system of knowledge? The system stands or falls in accordance with its own intrinsic merits. We do not inquire into the credentials of the inventors of the wheel before using one, but are satisfied with the fact that it works. And I'm wondering if some of these people who've got into the Gurdjieff work, they use it as an excuse not to work on themselves by saying, I need to know where he got it from, who the creator of this system was from the beginning, how far back it goes, all the ins and outs. They want a lineage. I even know people that want a lineage from Gurdjieff to today, but people are looking from Gurdjieff's lineage back into the past of where the system comes from, the Gurdjieff work. But as Kenneth Walker says here, if it works for you, that's brilliant, isn't it? But a lot of people are coming from the intellect too much because they need to know everything, and knowledge creates being. We've discussed all that before on other shows. And maybe some people feel they need to meet the teachers of the system, the original teachers, or by following through of where Gurdjieff got it from, maybe they will find the schools. That we'd all love the school to come and pick us out, a proper esoteric school, and take us on board. I personally think they've gone underground. The wars everywhere are just maybe not enough people awakening up enough for the schools to be. Well, even Gurdjieff talks, actually, I'm waffling here a bit, but even Gurdjieff talks about to get to the Sarmung Brotherhood, he was blindfolded. They didn't know the pathway there. I'm not sure if they were blindfolded coming back out, but even in various, and I'm trying to think of who it is who writes about this, in the Indian countries, in the Asian continent, and many of the mystery schools were able to put a veil across their fronts and nobody could see them. You have to be fully awakened to be able to say, oh, there it is over there. So working on ourselves would perhaps actually get you to an esoteric school. It might help you to spot one down the road. I wonder if they've come more into hiding in the Western world, perhaps in the cities or something. Just one of my own, perhaps, hopes and dreams that one day I will pop along the road and there it be. I think they had to, because obviously Gurdjieff was in Afghanistan and places like that, the Caucasus and things, which are under tremendous strain at the moment with the different wars going on. So maybe the esoteric schools had to up sticks and move on. I don't know where they are. But I think that stops a lot of people following through with the Gurdjieff work because they keep reading everywhere. You must find a teacher, which would be great if you can. Maybe you're lucky and there's someone near you that you can go and do one-to-ones with or do groups work with. But we have the books to work upon. But another part I wanted to read from Venture with Ideas by Kenneth Walker was about his time at Virginia Water with Ouspensky. which comes back to what I was saying earlier about how some people were saying, oh, you've dabbled in this and that and whatever. And then by reading this book about Maurice Nicole by Gary Lachman was quite surprising of what he's dabbled in over the years before he came to the Gurdjieff work. And later in after the Gurdjieff work, he was actually reading a lot of Swedenborg, which I love Swedenborg as well. So, this is great. But anyway, Kenneth Walker writes, this comparison of the ideas of the system with those of the great world religions helped me, I believe, to reach a better understanding of both. The terms used by the system and by the religions differed, but the statements they made were generally the same. There appeared to be a particularly close relationship between the ideas of the system and the doctrines of the mystery religions, such as Orpheism and Pythagoreanism. Pythagoras. While thinking about this similarity, I was reminded of what M had said many years ago when he likened esoteric knowledge to a subterranean current of ideas, which occasionally broke through to the surface and then, after a certain time, took an underground course again. Nobody knew where Gurdjieff had obtained this system of knowledge, but there could be no doubt that it was very old and that it had been transmitted to us orally through a long line of teachers and disciples. And I think some people, when they want to know the exact, precise, where did this work system come from, that's one of their eyes not wanting to do the work, possibly one of their eyes that's far too much in the intellect and thinks that by knowing all this, the way we're programmed by going to school, we're taught A, B, C in our histories, and that's what these kind of people are trying to do, rather than just looking at the system and making it work on them or developing themselves so that the work starts working in them. Again, I've had my own revelations of the knowledge is given to you, but then you have to work upon it inside. And I've done lots of shows about that and about your centers and how we develop our magnetic center so that we can attract the right people, books, teachings towards us. I cannot deny that over the years of the more I study this kind of thing, the right books fall into my hands, or suddenly the right people start turning up. Sometimes the wrong people, but that's a different story. But it's like my higher self, maybe, or the higher entities that are up there that want to help people wake up, who can hear, feel, see that we are trying to reach up, put things in our path so that we notice them. Things when we need them a lot of the time. Like I obviously needed to read Venture with Ideas again, because reading it again was just like a revelation. I saw it completely differently of how I even remember the book being. Made me consider a lot of, right, okay, I'm glad that I looked at all these different religions and faiths and gods and goddesses throughout my years. I'm glad that I tried to understand multicultural religions, and I'm really glad that I've been able to find a way of understanding Christ even more deeply in an esoteric way and seeing how I can implement that into my life. So I would highly recommend Kenneth Walker's book, Venture with Ideas, and I highly recommend Gary Lachman's book on Maurice Nicole that's come out recently. I'm sure it's out already. I write reviews for a magazine called Hermes Risen. It's one of the magazines I edit. So my review of Maurice Nicole's book will be out soon. So I'm pretty sure it's out already. But if you like to also know the biography of people, I am too. I'm interested in who are these people that helped me find my spiritual and soulful path. The Kenneth Walkers and the Maurice Nicoles and the Urages of this world, Ouspensky and even Rudolf Steiner. Like Gurdjieff, books about Rudolf Steiner by people who meet him, always positive and uplifting, but you sometimes feel like with Steiner, people saw that he was genuinely trying to help the world, but maybe couldn't take on the impulses that Steiner was trying to teach. Whereas with Gurdjieff, I feel quite a few people were able to start doing the work and spread it out into the world. I'm not saying no one continued anthroposophy of what Steiner put through, but I think there were problems in the last few years, even of his life, in the anthroposophical society that might have caused cracks that are ongoing. In the Gurdjieff work, we still have divisions, and I still don't think there's any actual Gurdjieff center that is the be all and end all of all Gurdjieff work, though I think the foundation has a lot of paperwork that we would all like to see. But there are a lot of groups out there that you can join and help yourself with by joining groups or teachers or finding other. There's lots on YouTube now of different people doing Gurdjieff study or talks. I see quite a few groups are even doing online coming together Zoom groups. So you're not alone in doing this work, but you've got to make sure that you trust in the system. And if it's working for you, you will have to continue. Anyway, that's just my little ramble for this weekend. I hope to be doing more Gurdjieff and related shows over the next few months, but I am also trying to enjoy the summer sunshine. So love and peace to you all. Until next time, keep the loving light in your hearts.